The Christmas you never knew. Well, have you ever stopped to wonder where Christmas really comes from? Well, we see the twinkling lights, the decorated trees, the jolly figure of Santa Claus, and we think we know this holiday. But what if I told you that much of what we celebrate has roots that stretch far deeper into the past, long before the story of Bethlehem was ever told? What if the festive traditions we hold so dear are echoes of ancient pagan rituals, celebrating the darkest days of the year with fire, feasting, and revelry? The story of Christmas is not as simple as it appears. It is a complex and fascinating tapestry, woven from many different threads: history, belief, and culture. The holiday we know today is a remarkable blend of sacred story and ancient custom. It's a story of how a religious celebration absorbed and reinterpreted the powerful traditions that came before it. Imagine Roman citizens exchanging gifts during the wild festival of Saturnalia, or Norse families lighting Yule logs to coax the sun back into the sky during the winter solstice. These are not just forgotten historical footnotes. They are the very DNA of our modern Christmas. The green wreaths on our doors, the candles in our windows, even the timing of the celebration itself, all have origins that might surprise you, connecting us to a very old, very human need to find light in the darkness. This journey will peel back the layers of history one by one. We will explore how a date in late December was chosen to celebrate the birth of Jesus, a decision that was not made for centuries and was steeped in strategic thinking. We will see how the early church grappled with popular, deeply ingrained pagan winter festivals. Instead of banning them outright, they often chose a different path: assimilation. They Christianized these beloved rites, infusing old customs with new meaning. This process of transformation is the key to understanding why Christmas looks and feels the way it does today, a vibrant mosaic of symbols from different worlds. This is not just a history lesson. It is a quest to uncover the hidden story behind our most cherished holiday. We will travel from the boisterous halls of Roman emperors to the quiet hearths of Germanic tribes, from the solemn debates of early Christian theologians to the festive markets of medieval Europe. The story is filled with fascinating characters, dramatic changes, and surprising connections. By the end, you will see your Christmas decorations, your family traditions, and even the figure of Santa Claus in an entirely new and more profound light. Prepare to unwrap the real story of Christmas. The story begins where the year feels weakest, at the edge of winter light. Across the northern hemisphere, families answered the long night with flame, food, and fellowship. Bonfires leapt skyward, not just for warmth, but as brave signals to a fading sun. Evergreen boughs crossed the threshold: holly, ivy, fir, living proof that life endures the cold. In Rome, candles flickered and gifts passed hand to hand as winter tilted toward hope. Far to the north, hearths roared in timber halls, promising the sun's return. These were not footnotes. They were the grammar of midwinter: light over darkness, feasting over fear, community over isolation. A language of symbols grew: flame for dawn, greenery for life, gifts for bonds that hold when the world is brittle with frost. Cold and warmth wrestled in every gathering, every candle against stone. Night yielded, slowly. And at the horizon, the first hint of return began to glow. Across cultures, the meaning converged: keep the light, keep each other. Patterns took root, customs we still feel, even when their names are forgotten. Hold that thought of turning light, follow it from flame to dawn, from fear to feast, and step into the solstice itself. The longest night is about to pivot. Breathe, listen for bells in the frost. The year is turning. In the ancient world, this turning gathered rituals: bonfires, greenery, gifts, songs, binding communities to hope. Names differed, the promise did not. Watch the sky. The sun stands still, then moves. Long before the first Christmas carol was ever sung, humanity was deeply connected to the rhythms of the natural world. The most dramatic of these was the winter solstice, the shortest day and longest night of the year. For ancient peoples across the northern hemisphere, this was a moment of profound anxiety, but also of immense hope. It marked a critical turning point. The sun had been weakening and sinking lower in the sky each day. It appeared to stand still before beginning its slow, triumphant journey back, promising the eventual return of warmth, light, and life. This celestial event was not just an astronomical curiosity. It was the central drama of the year, a cosmic battle between darkness and light. The Celts in Ireland, the builders of Stonehenge in England, the farming communities of ancient Persia watched the skies with a mixture of fear and reverence. They saw the encroaching darkness as a time when the veil between the worlds grew thin, when spirits roamed the earth, and when nature itself seemed to die. To survive this bleak period, and to encourage the sun's return, they developed powerful rituals. These were not somber, quiet affairs. They were acts of sympathetic magic, defiant celebrations in the face of the encroaching cold. People lit enormous bonfires to symbolically strengthen the fading sun, their flames a beacon of human hope against the overwhelming night. The use of evergreen plants was another widespread custom, rich with symbolism. In a world where deciduous trees stood bare and skeletal, holly, ivy, fir, mistletoe, these plants remained stubbornly green, living symbols of persistence and everlasting life. Bringing these green boughs into the home was more than mere decoration. It was an act of inviting the spirit of life indoors to protect the family from the dark forces believed to be strongest during this time. It was a tangible promise that spring would inevitably return. These ancient solstice celebrations, therefore, established a foundational grammar of winter festivity, centered on the struggle between light and dark, the importance of fire and illumination, the celebration of life's persistence through evergreens, and the communal need to feast and make merry as a defiant act of hope. These were not Christmas traditions, but they created the fertile soil in which Christmas would later take root. They addressed a deep, primal human need to find joy, light, and community during the darkest time of the year, a need that would resonate for millennia to come. Nowhere was the spirit of winter revelry more vibrant than in the Roman Empire during the festival of Saturnalia. Held in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture, wealth, liberation, this was the most popular holiday on the Roman calendar. It typically began on December 17th and by the late Republic had expanded to last for a full week. The entire social order was joyfully turned upside down. All business government schooling came to a halt. The normal, rigid rules of Roman society were suspended. For a few precious days, the world was remade into a carnivalesque utopia of freedom and equality. The festival's most striking feature was the reversal of social roles. Slaves were permitted to dine with their masters, sometimes even being served by them. They could speak freely, wear their masters' fine clothes, participate in gambling. A mock king, the Saturnalicious princeps, was often chosen by lot to preside over the festivities. His absurd commands obeyed by all. This temporary subversion acted as a social safety valve, allowing pent-up tensions to be released in a controlled, festive environment, ultimately reinforcing the social order by dissolving it in laughter and chaos. Gift-giving was central to Saturnalia. While the wealthy exchanged extravagant presents, the most common gifts were more modest. Wax candles known as cerae, small molded pottery figurines called sigillaria. The candles symbolized the return of light after the solstice, a direct link to older solstice traditions. The exchange of gifts strengthened social bonds and expressed goodwill. "Io Saturnalia!" was shouted with abandon, streets filled with feasting, drinking, public celebration. It was a time of pure, unadulterated joy. As Christianity spread through the Roman Empire, it could not ignore Saturnalia's popularity. the customs were too deeply ingrained, too beloved by the populace. Week-long feasting, suspension of work, giving of gifts, use of candles to symbolize light, general atmosphere of goodwill and merrymaking. Each of these elements proved remarkably durable. Early Christians lived in a world where late December was already the season for celebration. They participated in it, they witnessed it, and when the time came to establish their own winter festival, the echoes of Saturnalia were impossible to miss. While the Romans were celebrating Saturnalia with wine and social reversals, the Germanic and Norse peoples of Northern Europe faced the winter with their own set of powerful traditions, collectively known as Yule. For these cultures, living in colder, harsher climates, the winter solstice was an even more formidable event. The sun's retreat was more dramatic, the nights longer and more menacing. Their festivals were therefore intensely focused on fire family and warding off the malevolent spirits thought to wander the frozen landscape. Yule was a multi-day festival, stretching from the solstice in late December into early January, marking the very heart of winter. A central element of the celebration was the Yule log. A massive log, often a whole tree trunk, would be carefully selected and brought into the home's main hearth with great ceremony. It was lit from a remnant of the previous year's log, creating a symbolic continuity of light and warmth. The log was meant to burn throughout the longest nights of the year, its light and heat a bastion against the oppressive cold and darkness outside. It was a magical act, intended not only to provide comfort, but to magically entice the sun to return. The ashes of the Yule log were considered to have protective and fertilizing properties and were often scattered on the fields to ensure a good harvest in the coming year. Feasting was another critical component of Yule. The darkest part of winter was a time when livestock, which could not be fed until spring, were often slaughtered. This provided a rare abundance of fresh meat, leading to great feasts that brought the entire community together. Special Yule ale was brewed, and toasts were drunk to the gods like Odin Thor, as well as to the hope of a prosperous new year and the memory of ancestors. This communal feasting served a vital social function, reinforcing bonds of kinship and community solidarity at a time when survival depended on mutual support against the harshness of the elements. Like the Romans, the Norse also decorated their homes with evergreens. Holly ivy branches from fir trees were brought inside, their persistent green a powerful symbol of life in a seemingly dead world. Mistletoe held a particularly sacred status, associated with fertility, life, and peace. These traditions, the Yule log, the communal feast, the use of evergreens, and even the practice of wassailing or going from door to door singing, were deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Northern Europe. As Christianity later spread into these lands, it would encounter these potent, beloved customs, which would eventually be absorbed and reinterpreted into the emerging tapestry of Christmas. For the first few centuries, Christianity did not have a Christmas. The early church focused on Easter, the celebration of Jesus' resurrection. The birth of Jesus, while important, wasn't marked by a specific annual festival. Early church fathers, like Origen of Alexandria, were often suspicious of celebrating birthdays. They viewed birthdays as a pagan practice tied to kings and emperors. There was no consensus on when Jesus was born. The Gospel of Matthew, narrative clues, but no date. The Gospel of Luke, narrative clues, but no date. Some speculated his birth occurred in the spring, others placed it in the fall. The decision to celebrate on December 25th developed gradually in the 4th century. The chronography of 354 records a feast in Rome in 336 AD. Why December 25? Many historians say the church chose it strategically. In 274, Emperor Aurelian established a festival on December 25th for Sol Invictus. That holiday celebrated the sun's rebirth at the winter solstice. It was immensely popular across the Roman Empire. By placing Jesus' birth on the same day, the Church created a theological parallel. Jesus was portrayed as the true, unconquered Sun, the light of the world, Gospel of John. Rather than banning a popular pagan festival, the Church co-opted it. This let converts keep celebrating on a familiar day. But worship was redirected from a pagan sun god to the Christian Savior. The decision wasn't accepted everywhere immediately. The Eastern Empire long celebrated on January 6th, Epiphany. Epiphany commemorated Jesus' birth. Epiphany also commemorated his baptism. Debates over the proper date continued for decades. Different traditions, the Latin West; different traditions, the Greek East. Gradually, December 25th spread from the heart of the empire. Its adoption signaled Christianity's growing confidence, and a strategic shift from a persecuted minority to the dominant religion of the Roman world. Once December 25th was established, the Church faced a new challenge. What to do about the web of popular customs associated with the winter solstice? From the wild revelry of Saturnalia in the south to the fire-lit feasts of Yule in the north, the people of Europe were already accustomed to celebrating this time of year with greenery, lights, gift-giving, and feasting. Rather than attempting a feudal ban on these deeply ingrained traditions, Church leaders often pursued a deliberate policy of absorption and reinterpretation. Pope Gregory the Great, writing in 601, famously advised his missionaries in Britain not to destroy pagan temples, but to purify them and rededicate them for Christian worship. This same principle was applied to pagan customs. Evergreen wreaths, evergreen boughs, once a symbol of life's persistence in pagan belief, was recontextualized. Holly, with its sharp leaves and red berries, came to represent the crown of thorns and the blood of Christ. The evergreen fir tree, pointing heavenward, became a symbol of the eternal life offered through faith in Jesus. Candles' bonfires to combat the darkness was similarly re-envisioned. These lights were no longer just a magical plea for the sun's return. They became a powerful symbol of Jesus as the light of the world, who came to dispel the spiritual darkness of sin and despair. The raucous feasting social inversion of Saturnalia were also gradually tamed and repurposed. The Church encouraged charity and acts of goodwill, channeling the festive spirit into caring for the poor. The idea of a season of peace and generosity was promoted, echoing Saturnalia's egalitarian ideals, but grounding them in Christian teachings of humility and love for one's neighbor. Gift-giving, once a Roman social custom, was increasingly linked to the story of the Magi presenting gifts to the infant Jesus, or later, to the generosity of saints like Saint Nicholas. The old forms remained, but they were filled with new, Christian content. This process of Christianization was not always smooth or complete. For centuries, the official, solemn religious celebrations of the Church coexisted with a more boisterous folk version of Christmas that retained much of its pagan, carnivalesque spirit. Drinking, gambling, mummering continued to mark the season, a clear legacy of Saturnalia and Yule. This tension between the sacred and the profane, the solemn mass and the rowdy feast would become a defining characteristic of the holiday for the next 1,000 years. The Christmas that emerged from this period was a complex hybrid, a testament to the Church's ability to absorb and transform the ancient roots of winter celebration. As Europe transitioned from the ashes of the Roman Empire into the medieval era, Christmas solidified its place as one of the most important dates on the Christian calendar. It became the anchor of a long, festive season known as Christmastide, stretching for the 12 days of Christmas December 25th, Epiphany on January 6th. For the vast majority of people whose lives were dictated by the grueling rhythms of agricultural labor, this was a much-needed and eagerly anticipated respite. For nearly 2 weeks, all but the most essential work ceased. The lord of the manor would often provide a great feast for his tenants. The harsh social hierarchies of feudal life were temporarily softened in a spirit of generosity and communal celebration. During this period, the religious and the secular were deeply intertwined. The season began with solemn church services, including the midnight mass on Christmas Eve. Churches were decorated with greenery like holly ivy. But once outside the church walls, the festivities took on a much more boisterous and carnivalesque tone. It was a time for feasting on a scale rarely seen during the rest of the year. Wealthy nobles would display magnificent dishes like roasted boar's head peacock. Humble peasants enjoyed an abundance of food ale, a welcome luxury after the harvest. The spirit of Saturnalia lived on in the figure of the Lord of Misrule. In many towns and large households, one person, often of lower social standing, was chosen to preside over the Christmastide entertainments. For the duration of the festival, this mock king's word was law, including priests and nobles, to engage in dancing games and general foolishness. This tradition of social inversion provided a sanctioned outlet for chaotic energy, a time when the world could be turned upside down for fun. It was a period of loud music, drinking, gambling, spontaneous revelry that often spilled out into the streets, much to the chagrin of sober church officials. This medieval Christmas was therefore a vibrant and often contradictory blend of piety and pagan-descended partying. It was a time of sacred devotion, marked by beautiful liturgies and hymns, but it was also a time of unrestrained folk celebration that drew its energy from much older, pre-Christian traditions of winter merrymaking. The Yule log still burned in the hearth, carols were sung as dance tunes, not solemn hymns, and a spirit of misrule and feasting dominated the season. This was the version of Christmas that would flourish for 1,000 years, a rich and rowdy festival that combined solemn worship with a deep, communal need for light food and laughter in the heart of winter. To bring the story of the Nativity to life for a largely illiterate population, the medieval church developed a powerful tool of religious instruction and popular entertainment, the Nativity play. These performances began modestly inside the church as part of the liturgy, with priests acting out short, simple scenes from the Gospels. A prop manger, or creche, would be set up. Different clergy members would represent Mary. Different clergy members would represent Joseph. Different clergy members would represent the shepherds. Different clergy members would represent the Magi. These liturgical dramas helped to make the abstract theology of the Incarnation tangible and emotionally resonant for the common person, transforming the story from a text read in Latin into a living, breathing event. Over time, these plays grew more elaborate and moved out of the church and into the public square. They became known as mystery plays, performed by local guilds on large mobile pageant wagons. Each guild would take responsibility for a specific scene, Creation Nativity as a central episode Last Judgment. These productions became major civic events, mixing serious religious themes with moments of broad comedy and folk storytelling. Characters like the bumbling, grumpy shepherds, a comically evil King Herod, provided entertainment, while the tender scenes with the Holy Family inspired devotion. Alongside these more formal plays, a host of other folk customs flourished during the Christmastide season. The practice of wassailing became popular, especially in rural England. Groups of people would go from house to house, singing songs and offering a drink from a communal wassail bowl filled with spiced ale or cider. In return, they would receive food money, other small gifts. This tradition was a way of spreading good cheer and ensuring the health of the community and its apple orchards for the coming year. It was a form of social bonding, a roving party that connected neighbors and reinforced the spirit of shared generosity during the festive season. Another popular tradition was mumming, where costumed revelers would go door to door performing short, often comical plays. These mummers' plays typically revolved around themes of death and resurrection, featuring a hero combatant who is slain and then magically brought back to life by a doctor character. This folk drama has clear pre-Christian roots, echoing ancient rituals concerned with the death of the old year and the birth of the new. During Christmas, this ancient theme was blended with the Christian story, creating a unique folk performance that was part pageant, part party, and a key part of the season's chaotic and joyous energy, further weaving together the sacred and the profane. For 1,000 years, Christmas had been a fixture of European life, boisterous and beloved. But in the 16th and 17th centuries, that all came under attack. The Protestant Reformation began with Martin Luther in 1517. It fundamentally challenged the authority and practices of the Catholic Church. More radical reformers, Calvinists, Puritans who followed them, they sought to purify Christianity of practices not in the Bible. They looked at Christmas and saw not a holy celebration, but a popish invention. They saw it as a pagan festival dripping with superstition and moral corruption. The Puritans argued December 25th had no biblical basis, an arbitrary date. They were offended by the culture around the holiday, the feasts, the drinking, the games, the Lord of Misrule, the mumming, all sinful, wasteful, and a distraction from sober devotion. To them, Christmas was just a Catholic Mass, especially the Christmas Mass, combined with Roman Saturnalia. Every day should be lived holy. Singling out one day was idolatry. That theological opposition became political action. When Puritans gained Parliament in the Civil War, they acted. In 1647, Parliament passed an ordinance abolishing Christmas. They also targeted other holidays like Easter and Whitsun. They declared December 25th a normal working day. Soldiers patrolled London, pulling decorations from doorways. They forced shops to stay open. The ban was deeply unpopular. It sparked pro-Christmas riots across cities. In New England, the enforcement was even stricter. Massachusetts Bay Colony outlawed Christmas from 1659 to 1681. Celebrating, feasting, or refusing labor could mean a 5-shilling fine. For the Puritans, this was about principle, building a city upon a hill, no place for pagan-infused, Catholic-tainted revelry. The war on Christmas wiped the holiday off public calendars in England and parts of America for decades. Even after the Puritan government fell and the monarchy was restored in England in 1660, Christmas did not immediately bounce back to its former glory. The ban was lifted, but the damage had been done. The powerful cultural momentum the holiday had enjoyed for centuries was broken. In the countryside, some older folk traditions continued quietly. In public life and among the rising urban middle classes, the festival lost importance. The Industrial Revolution and the Enlightenment's focus on reason and rationality further eroded the old, superstitious communal ways of celebrating. The 18th century became a period of Christmas hibernation. In Britain, the holiday went muted and marginal. In America, it did too. For many, it was simply a day off work, but without the grand feasts, the mystery plays, or the organized civic celebrations of the medieval period. In the United States, the Puritan legacy stayed strong in the North. In the South, where the Anglican Church held more sway, Christmas was more likely to be celebrated with parties and with fox hunts by the wealthy planter class. It was not the universal, family-centered holiday we know today. On December 25, 1789, the first year it was in session, the U.S. Congress did business as usual. The old carnivalesque spirit, public disorder, and social inversion grew unwelcome in industrial cities. Factory owners and the emerging bourgeoisie valued order, sobriety, and productivity, the opposite of the Lord of Misrule's chaotic reign. The boisterous, often alcohol-fueled public celebrations were seen as threats to social stability. Christmas retreated from the public square and moved indoors. It became a private, domestic affair, shedding its rowdy, communal skin. But the ghost of Christmas past had not been entirely exorcised. In the early 19th century, a new wave of nostalgia for the past emerged. Writers and antiquarians looked back to a imagined merry old England. They wrote about the great baronial halls, the Yule logs, the wassail bowls, and the spirit of charity and community. That romantic fascination created the conditions for a Christmas revival. The holiday was dormant, but about to be reawakened and reinvented for a new age. The mid-19th century witnessed a dramatic reinvention of Christmas. No single person was more responsible than Charles Dickens. His 1843 novella, A Christmas Carol, was an overnight sensation. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge's transformation from miserly recluse to joyful generosity. It tapped directly into anxieties of the new industrial age. It provided a powerful moral blueprint for the holiday, shifting focus away from rowdy public revelry towards family, charity, social justice, and personal redemption. Dickens didn't invent the Victorian Christmas alone, but he popularized these ideals. He painted a picture of the perfect Christmas, a family gathered around a hearth, a feast centered on a roasted turkey or goose, parlor games, and, most importantly, a spirit of goodwill and compassion for the less fortunate. His story linked Christmas with the moral responsibility of the wealthy to care for the poor. It transformed Christmas from a simple religious festival or raucous party into a humanitarian, kind, forgiving, charitable time. At the same time, other elements of our modern Christmas were falling into place. Many of them came from Germany via the British royal family. Prince Albert brought the German tradition of the decorated Christmas tree to Britain. An 1848 newspaper illustration of the royal family around their fir tree sparked a craze. Suddenly, middle-class families wanted a tree of their own. Candles on the tree, sweets hung as decorations, homemade ornaments. That single royal image helped make the tree the central icon of the domestic holiday. The Victorian revival also birthed other traditions. The first Christmas card was sent in England in 1843. Advances in printing made cards affordable and popular. The singing of carols, once a quiet folk practice, was revived. New and old hymns were published in widely circulated books. By the end of the 19th century, the holiday had been completely transformed. The medieval Lord of Misrule was gone, replaced by the benevolent figure of Father Christmas. The rowdy public festival became a child-centered, family-focused domestic celebration, brimming with sentiment, nostalgia, and newfound traditions. The Victorian revival set the stage for a new, powerful force to shape the holiday: industrial capitalism. As the 19th century became the 20th, the Industrial Revolution flipped from decline to explosive growth for Christmas. Factories that had once churned out textiles and machinery began to turn their attention to the burgeoning holiday market. What had once been homemade, tree ornaments, children's toys, could now be mass-produced cheaply and in vast quantities. The shift from homespun tradition to factory-made novelty changed the holiday's look and feel. More vibrant, more uniform. Entrepreneurs and manufacturers smelled opportunity. Germany's delicate glass ornament craft was industrialized. Lauscher companies mass-produced shiny glass baubles and exported them across Europe and America. The toy industry boomed. Instead of a simple wooden toy, children began to expect manufactured dolls, tin soldiers, model trains. Christmas transformed into a major driver of the consumer economy. The change was most visible in department stores. Macy's in New York, Selfridges in London turned stores into winter wonderlands with elaborate window displays. Inside, dedicated Christmas departments and Santa's grotto. Children met store-employed Santas and told their wishes. That directly linked Santa and Christmas magic to shopping. The holiday became make or break for retailers. Advertisements filled newspapers and magazines, selling not just gifts but an idea: the perfect Christmas through consumption. They created expectations, love expressed by buying manufactured presents. The industrial Christmas had arrived, the birth of the holiday shopping season. The most iconic figure of the commercial Christmas is, without a doubt, Santa Claus. But the jolly, red-suited man who pilots a reindeer-powered sleigh did not spring into existence fully formed. He is the result of a long and fascinating evolution, a blend of historical figure, folk legend, corporate branding. His story begins with a real person, Saint Nicholas, a 4th century Christian bishop from Myra in modern-day Turkey. Nicholas was renowned for his piety and, most importantly, his secret gift-giving. The most famous story tells of him saving 3 poor sisters by secretly dropping bags of gold through their window for their dowries. This historical saint became the patron of children, and his feast day on December 6th was a day for gift-giving in many parts of Europe for centuries. In the Netherlands, he was known as Santa Claus, a tall, stately bishop who rode a white horse and was accompanied by a helper. When Dutch colonists came to America, they brought the traditions of Santa Claus with them. However, it was in 19th century New York that this figure began his transformation. In 1823, an anonymous poem titled "A Visit from St. Nicholas," now better known as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," was published. This single poem established most of the key features of the modern Santa: sleigh, 8 tiny reindeer chimney descent, and his depiction as a jolly old elf. Building on this poem, the German-American cartoonist Thomas Nast, working for Harper's Weekly in the late 19th century, gave Santa his definitive visual form. Between 1863 and 1886, Nast produced a series of drawings that cemented Santa's image. He gave him his workshop at the North Pole, his list of naughty and nice children, his familiar red suit, though sometimes tan. He depicted him as a large, grandfatherly figure with a full white beard, a powerful and benevolent symbol of Christmas cheer. This was the Santa who was embraced by department stores and advertisers, the perfect character to embody the holiday's new focus on children and gift-giving. The final and most famous piece of the puzzle was added in the 1930s. The Coca-Cola Company commissioned artist Haden Sundblom to create a series of Christmas advertisements. From 1931 to 1964, Sundblom painted a Santa who was not an elf or a saint, but a warm, human, and thoroughly approachable figure. His Santa was robust, rosy-cheeked, and always pictured with a Coke in hand. These massively popular ads, which appeared in magazines and on billboards across the country, standardized Santa's image for a global audience. The saint, from Turkey, Dutch, folklore, American poetry, German cartoons, and finally to a brand in the global marketplace, had become the ultimate corporate mascot and the global symbol of a commercial Christmas. The reinvention of Christmas in the 19th century coincided with a revolution in communication technology, which allowed new and revived traditions to spread with unprecedented speed and reach. The Christmas card is a perfect example. The very first one was commissioned in London in 1843 by Sir Henry Cole, who was looking for a convenient way to answer his stacks of holiday mail. The card, featuring a festive scene and a generic greeting, was printed using the new technology of lithography. While the initial run of 1,000 cards was expensive, the idea caught on. As printing methods improved and postage rates fell, sending Christmas cards became an immensely popular and affordable tradition. This new custom created a visual language for the holiday. Early cards often featured religious scenes, snowy landscapes, robins, holly. But they quickly diversified to include humorous illustrations, sentimental family scenes, and depictions of Father Christmas. They became a way for people to maintain social connections across distances, sending a small piece of festive cheer through the mail. The production of Christmas cards became a massive industry in its own right, employing artists, printers, poets. Each card sent, reinforced the central themes of the Victorian Christmas: family nostalgia and goodwill, broadcasting these values into millions of homes every year. The revival of carol singing followed a similar path. While folk carols had been sung for centuries, the Victorian era saw a concerted effort to collect, publish, and popularize them. Collections like Christmas Carols, New and Old in 1871 brought songs like The First Noel and God Rest Ye Merry, gentlemen out of rural obscurity and into the middle-class parlor. New carols were also composed, and the practice of group singing in churches on street corners became widespread. The invention of the phonograph and later the radio meant that this Christmas music could be recorded and broadcast to a mass audience, creating a shared national and eventually international soundtrack for the holiday season. In the 20th century, new forms of mass media continued to amplify and standardize the Christmas experience. Holiday-themed television specials, Bing Crosby variety shows A Charlie Brown Christmas, became annual viewing rituals for families. These programs not only entertained but also taught generations what Christmas was supposed to feel and look like. They reinforced the importance of family togetherness, the magic of Santa Claus, and the moral lessons of generosity and faith. Through cards, music, radio, and television, the Anglo-American model of Christmas was packaged and exported, becoming the dominant template for the holiday around the world. As the cultural influence of Britain and the United States grew in the 19th and 20th centuries, so too did the reach of their version of Christmas. The holiday's symbols, the tree, Santa Claus, gift-giving, proved to be incredibly adaptable and appealing, spreading far beyond their Christian origins. In many countries with their own strong religious and cultural traditions, Christmas was adopted not primarily as a religious festival, but as a secular celebration of winter, family, and commerce. It became a globalized phenomenon, a festive season that could be embraced by people of all backgrounds, often with, fascinating local adaptations. In Japan, for example, Christmas is not a national holiday, and only a tiny fraction of the population is Christian. Yet the country has enthusiastically adopted many of the holiday's commercial trappings. Cities are decorated with spectacular illuminations, stores are filled with Christmas merchandise, and exchanging gifts has become common, especially among couples who treat Christmas Eve like a romantic occasion, similar to Valentine's Day. In a famous and quirky marketing success story, Kentucky Fried Chicken has become the traditional Japanese Christmas dinner for millions, the result of a brilliant advertising campaign from the 1970s that linked fried chicken with the ideal American Christmas feast. Across Latin America, which has a deep-rooted Catholic heritage, Christmas is a profound religious holiday centered on the Nacimiento, the nativity scene. However, these traditions are often blended with elements imported from the North American model. While the primary gift bringer might be the baby Jesus, El Niño Dios, Santa Claus, or Papa Noel also makes an appearance. Christmas trees stand alongside nativity scenes, and American Christmas carols are sung in Spanish and Portuguese. The season is a vibrant mix of solemn religious processions, family feasts featuring local cuisine, and the bright, commercialized imagery of a globalized Christmas. This process of adaptation can be seen worldwide. In Australia, Christmas falls in the middle of summer, leading to traditions like carols by candlelight in outdoor parks and festive barbecues on the beach, with Santa sometimes arriving on a surfboard or a fire engine. In India, Christian communities might decorate mango or banana trees instead of firs. This global spread demonstrates the remarkable flexibility of the holiday's key symbols. Divorced from their deep religious context, the tree, the lights, and the figure of Santa become free-floating signifiers of fun, family, and festivity, capable of being integrated into almost any cultural setting and given new, local meanings. As motion pictures and television became the dominant forms of popular entertainment in the 20th century, Hollywood shaped the modern Christmas imagination. The Christmas movie became its own genre, creating enduring narratives that defined the holiday for global audiences. These films often had little to do with the biblical nativity. Instead, they focused on the importance of family, the magic of belief, the power of community, the redemption of a cynical heart. They created a shared cinematic universe of the ideal Christmas. One early example is the 1947 classic Miracle on 34th Street. The plot pits Christmas magic against modern cynicism. It's personified by a department store Santa who claims to be the real thing. The film addresses commercialization, yet its message is faith. Faith in Santa. Faith in kindness. Faith in each other. It uses Macy's as a commercial backdrop to champion belief over commercialism. Another cornerstone is Frank Capra's 1946, It's a Wonderful Life. Not a big success at release, it became a TV broadcast Christmas staple. The story of George Bailey is a modern parable. It says every life has value. True riches are family and community, not money. The town rallying to save George visualizes collective goodwill, a holiday touchstone. From comedies like Home Alone, Elf, to action films like Die Hard, a movie that sparked debates about being a Christmas film. These movies are cultural touchstones, creating shared jokes, shared quotes, shared expectations. They teach that Christmas is when families reunite, when estranged couples reconcile, and when miracles, big or small, can happen. By telling these stories repeatedly, cinema became a primary force defining modern Christmas, a season of secular redemption and family drama. Today, Christmas stands as a complex and often contradictory global phenomenon. It is, for billions of Christians, a sacred season celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. At the same time, it is an unparalleled commercial juggernaut, a multi-billion-dollar industry that drives retail economies around the world. This dual identity creates a powerful and persistent tension. Every year, discussions and debates arise about the true meaning of Christmas. People worry that the holiday has become too commercial, that the focus on shopping, spending, and material goods has eclipsed the more profound values of faith, family, and charity. This concern is not new. As we have seen, even in the Middle Ages, church leaders fretted about the excessive feasting and revelry that overshadowed the holiday's religious purpose. The Puritans tried to ban it for this very reason. What is different today is the sheer scale and sophistication of the commercial apparatus that surrounds Christmas. The holiday season seems to start earlier each year, a phenomenon known as Christmas creep, as retailers push to maximize the shopping period. The pressure to buy, to create the perfect Instagrammable Christmas, can lead to stress, debt, and a feeling that the holiday has lost its soul. Yet people continue to find deep personal meaning in the season, often by navigating the commercial pressures in their own way. For many, the commercial aspects are simply the backdrop for what truly matters. The act of buying gifts is seen not just as consumption, but as a tangible way to express love and appreciation for family and friends. The festive decorations, music, and food, even if mass-produced and commercially marketed, help create a special atmosphere, a temporary escape from ordinary routines. People actively create their own traditions, blending the old and the new, the sacred and the secular, to craft a celebration that feels authentic to them. Ultimately, the story of Christmas is a story of continuous adaptation. From a pagan solstice rite to a Roman sun festival, from a medieval carnival to a Victorian family gathering, and now to a globalized commercial holiday, it has always absorbed and transformed the cultural forces around it. The contemporary tension between commerce and meaning is just the latest chapter in this long history. The holiday survives and thrives because it is not one single thing. It is a vast and versatile cultural canvas onto which we project our deepest human needs, for light in the darkness, for community and connection, for hope, and for a moment of peace and goodwill in a busy world. Our journey through the history of Christmas has been a long and winding one, stretching across 2,000 years of human belief and culture. We began our story in the deep past, in a world lit only by fire and stars, where our ancient ancestors gathered to defy the winter darkness. They celebrated the solstice, the sun's miraculous rebirth. We saw the burning of the Yule log in a Norse longhouse, the defiant green of a holly branch brought into a Celtic home. These were acts of profound hope, establishing a grammar of winter celebration, light life, feasting. This primal need to find joy in the bleakest season is the very bedrock upon which Christmas was built. From these ancient rites, we travel to the heart of the Roman Empire. The boisterous festival of Saturnalia, the exchanging of gifts, the lighting of candles, the joyful temporary collapse of social order. It was into this world of established winter celebration that Christianity introduced a new and powerful story. In the 4th century, the Church placed the birth of Jesus on December 25th, directly co-opting the popular Roman festival of the unconquered sun. This act allowed the Church to absorb, rather than abolish, the people's love for a midwinter holiday. Then came the Middle Ages. Christmas flowered into a 12-day festival of sacred liturgy and secular revelry. Midnight Mass, the Lord of Misrule. We saw how this vibrant, chaotic version of the holiday was nearly extinguished by the Reformation, as Puritans in England and America banned the celebration, viewing it as a pagan and popish corruption. The holiday fell into a long hibernation, only to be spectacularly revived in the 19th century. Driven by the nostalgic vision of writers like Charles Dickens and the new traditions like the Christmas tree, popularized by Queen Victoria, the holiday was reborn. It became a domestic, child-centric festival, focused on family charity and a spirit of sentimental goodwill. Finally, we entered the modern era, where industrialization and mass media turned this Victorian ideal into a global phenomenon. We followed the incredible journey of Saint Nicholas, a Turkish bishop transformed by poets, cartoonists, and Coca-Cola advertisements into the jolly Santa Claus we know today. We saw how railroads, factories, and department stores created the commercial Christmas, a powerful economic engine that spread the holiday's secular symbols: the tree, the gifts, the music. From a sacred Christian feast, it has become a worldwide cultural festival, adapted and celebrated by people of countless backgrounds, from a KFC dinner in Japan to a summer barbecue in Australia. As we have journeyed through these many layers of history, we have paused at several key turning points to invite you to engage with our channel. Early in our story, as we saw how the early church grappled with absorbing pagan traditions, we asked you to subscribe so you wouldn't miss future explorations of how history shapes our modern world. Later, as we witnessed the dramatic Victorian revival that created the template for our modern holiday, we invited you to like this video. And just now, as we considered the complex interplay between meaning and commerce in our contemporary celebration, we asked you to share this video with someone who might also find this hidden history fascinating. These moments of interaction are vital for us to continue unwrapping the stories behind the things we take for granted. The history of Christmas reveals a profound truth. It has never been one single static thing. It has always been a dynamic and contested idea, constantly evolving to reflect the societies that celebrate it. From a defiant pagan rite against the darkness, to a tool of Christian conversion, to a symbol of feudal generosity, to a moral lesson in a Dickensian novel, and finally to a brand in the global marketplace, Christmas has worn many masks. Its enduring power lies precisely in this capacity for reinvention, its ability to absorb new meanings without ever fully shedding the old ones. This continuous evolution makes the holiday rich, complex, and meaningful. The season's blend of the sacred and the secular is not a modern corruption, but a core part of its 2,000-year-old DNA. The tension we feel today between the true meaning of Christmas and consumer pressures is the latest chapter in a long negotiation between belief tradition and the prevailing forces of the age. The holiday survives and thrives by reflecting our anxieties, our hopes, our values, and our deep, abiding need for connection and light. And so, we leave you with this final thought to ponder. As we look towards the future, in an increasingly interconnected yet fragmented world, what will Christmas become next? We have seen it transform from a solstice rite into a global festival. Given its history of adaptation and its ability to reflect the spirit of the times, consider this. What values and needs will the Christmas of the future be called upon to represent? What new traditions will emerge? And what old ones will be given new life as it continues its long and fascinating journey through human history?